Ranjana Yamunatira Chari Yamunatira Chari Jairadhamadhava Kunjavihari Jaya Gopri Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopri Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya stirs that to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya stirs that to His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, dearest devotees, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we are reading from Canto 6 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 3, chapter entitled Yamaraj Instructs His Messengers, text number 29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jivana Bhakti Bhagavad Guna Nama Jivana Bhakti Bhagavad Guna Namadeyam Chetascha Smarati Tach Charanarvindam Krishnaya no Yatnamati Yachira Ekapadi Ekadapi Tan anayad Ayadavam asto krita Vishnu Krityan Jivanavakti Bhagavad Gunanamedeyam Jetashchana Smarati Chak Charanaravindam Krishnaya no namati chachira ekadapi tan anuyadhav ashtato krita Vishnu Krityan Jivanavakti Bhagavad Gunanamedeyam Detasjana Smarti Tacharnarvindam Krishnaya no namati yachchira ekadhapi tan anayadhavam asto krita Vishnu Krityan. Would anyone on Zoom like to chant the verse?
Jivana Bhakti Bhagavad Namadeyam Chetashjana Smarati Tachcharanara Vindam Krishnaya no Namati Yachira Ekadapi Madana Yadvam Asato Krita Vishnu Krityan.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, synonyms. Jiva, the tongue. Sorry, Jihiva, the tongue. Na, not. Bhakti, chants. Bhagavat, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guna, transcendental qualities. Nam, the holy name. Deyam, imparting. Cheta, the heart. Cha, also. Na, not. Smarati, remembers. Tat, his. Charnaravindam, lotus feet. Krishnaya, unto Lord Krishna through his deity in the temple. No, not. Namati, bows. Yet, whose. Shira, head. Ekadapi, even once. Tan, them. Anayadhavam, brings before me. Asata, the non-devotees. Akita, not performing. Vishnu Kritan, duties toward Lord Vishnu. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. My dear servants, please bring to me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose head do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties toward Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Please bring me all such fools and rascals. Purport. The word Vishnu Kritan is very important in this verse because the purpose of the human life is to please Lord Vishnu. Varnashram Dharma is also meant for that purpose. As stated in the Vishnu Purana 389, Varnashrama Chara Charavata Pura Shena Parapumam Vishnu Arhadyate Panta Nanyat Tatoshakarnam. Human society is meant to follow strictly the Varnashram Dharma, which divides society into four social divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and four spiritual divisions: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. Varnashram Dharma easily brings one nearer to Lord Vishnu, who is the only true object in human society. Na te vidu svatag hatim hi Vishnu. Unfortunately, however, people do not know that their self-interest is to return home back to Godhead, or to approach Lord Vishnu. Durasya ye durashaya ye bhahi arta maniha. Instead, they are simply bewildered. Every human being is expected to perform duties meant for approaching Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Yamaraj advises the Yamadutas to bring him those persons who have forgotten their duties toward Vishnu. Krita Vishnu or Krityana. One who does not chant the holy name of Vishnu, Krishna, who does not bow down before the deity of Vishnu, and who does not remember the lotus feet of Vishnu is punishable by Yamaraj. In summary, all Vaishnavas, persons unconcerned with Lord Vishnu, are punishable by Yamaraj. Jai. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. My dear servants, please bring me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties toward Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Please bring me all such fools and rascals. So today, I thought in this verse, Srila Prabhupada's bringing together lots of points to speak about. But I thought to talk about association. So who we associate with. As in this verse, we're hearing about the Vaishnavas, or the people who are not the Vaishnavas, and the activities these people do not perform. And we hear about the Vaishnavas a little bit as well, what the Vaishnavas perform. So I thought to speak about the importance of association. And it's always a nice topic to hear more about, and especially to study. So when I was preparing for this class yesterday, I was, just reflecting on my own life, and I got a lot of inspiration to talk about this point, because I definitely struggle with this, and Bhagavatam classes are a really nice opportunity to get purified of our nartas in our heart, especially for the speaker, to get purified of our nartas in our heart, and to hopefully get some realization of them. So association, we'll start with the non-devotees. So we hear here in this report, and in the verse that Yamaraj is explaining, like, I want only you to bring me the people who are not practicing any form of Vaishnavism. So they fall into the Sat category. So there's two categories, Asat and Sat. Just like we hear all throughout Srila Prabhupada's books, he often says there's two types of people. There's the demons and there's the demigods. There's the Asat, there's the Sat, there's the Avaishnavas and the Vaishnavas. So the Asat is the non-devotees, and Sat is devotees. There's this nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10:10:18, so the 10th canto, 10th chapter, text number 18. And Srila Prabhupada says in the translation that saintly persons, sadhus, think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, whom are rich and proud? And in this, he gives this quotation from, I don't actually know where it's from, Bhagavatam, I guess, 3:25:21. And he gives the descriptions of this. He says, the symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. Merciful, friendly, living towards all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures. And all his characteristics are sublime. So this was his quotation. And then a sadhu is Suradasara Dehinam, the friend of everyone. Why then should the rich, instead of associating with sadhus, waste their valuable time in associating with other rich men who are averse to spiritual life? Both the poor man and the rich man take advantage of the Krishna conscious movement, and here it is advised to everyone to do so, that everyone do so. There's no profit in avoiding the association of the members of the Krishna conscious movement. If we give up with this, and then he quotes another verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, if we give up association with the sadhus, saintly persons, and engage in Krishna consciousness, if we give up the association of the sadhus, saintly persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, and associate with persons seeking gratification, seeking sense gratification, and accumulating wealth for this purpose, our life is spoiled. The word asat refers to an avaishnav, one who is not a devotee of Krishna, and sat refers to a Vaishnav, Krishna devotees. One should always seek the association of Vaishnavas and not spoil one's life with mixing with Avaishnavas. And then he quotes this nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which we hear about often. Anyone who's not surrendered to Krishna is the most sinful person, a dushkriti, a rascal, mudha, one of the lowest mankind, nardham. Therefore, one should avoid the association of one should not avoid the association of Vaishnavas, which is now available all over the world in the form of Krishna conscious movement. So we should not give up the very rare, actually, association of the sadhus and ruin our life, as we're hearing in this verse. And as we're hearing in the verse we read today, this is the people we don't want to associate with. Those who never chant the holy name of the Lord, the qualities, those whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, those whose heads never bow down even once before Lord Krishna. These are the people we don't want to associate with. And yeah, what does that look like? So in our day to day, what do those people look like? As we just heard in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who has not surrendered to Krishna is most sinful. They're a rascal and they're the lowest of mankind. And so what does it mean to associate with them? So here on Gita Nagari Dham, we don't often have such people come, and we're not surrounded by them all of the time. But for everyone else who is working and performing devotional service expertly in such an environment, then this association is a day-to-day occurrence. But as we hear from Rupa Goswami, that you can associate with someone without actually associating with them, in the sense of we have associates, people we know, and we have our dearest friends, people that we perform loving exchanges with. So we can give our association to these people who are not practicing Krishna consciousness, but we do not take their association. And taking their association as in the form of revealing our heart to them or performing loving exchanges with them in such a way where we're revealing the mind. So in this way, we do not want to take the association with people who are not practicing Krishna consciousness. Because by revealing our heart and taking their sangha, then unless we're very strong in our practice, we can easily become bewildered by their association. And this is, like a small example, if we are feeling disturbed about some sort of situation that's come up within our bhakti practice and our lifestyle, or even just within our material realm, which I mean, everything, if you're practicing Krishna consciousness, everything is devotional service. And we are feeling disturbed about something, so we feel like we need to talk to someone or somehow reveal the mind. And we approach someone who's not engaging themselves in the processes of bhakti yoga, shravanam kirtanam, or who's not aspiring to get free from the modes of material nature, then the advice that they will give to us and the exchange of us opening our heart and them putting something in might actually put us off on a worse path than when we started, because their consciousness is not purified to the extent when they can give advice that's actually beneficial for us on a spiritual platform. So yeah, this can often cause more damage than good, especially if we're not very strong in our spiritual practice. Very often I've seen very new devotees come and they're experiencing the glorious purification of Krishna consciousness. And they go and they ask maybe even their family members, this is happening. And family members hear this, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Everything would be better if you stopped doing all those things and you did this instead. And then, of course, they get bewildered and they can easily switch sides. So this is one type of association we don't want to take in. Another type that is actually more subtle that we're experiencing more in the experience more in this day to day, especially now as technology is progressing so much, is the association of music, TV shows, movies, basically the online world. That is another form of association that we want to be careful about what we take into our consciousness. For example, how this works is all of these forms like movies, music, uh, like TV shows, commercials, YouTube, Instagram, all of this is actually in the art category. Of course, there's a lot of Vaishya in there as well to get everything selling, but a lot of this, the people who produce things that go onto this, they're artists. And speaking as an artist, I know how it works. When you are creating something, you're putting a lot of your own heart into the project. So all of these musicians, they produce their music. Is actually a reflection of their consciousness. Like my brother, he's a musician. So when I was living in New Zealand, I would speak to him very rarely. Um, very brief conversations, but I could always know how he was doing based on the music that he was producing. I'd like listen to some of his songs just to support him as a sister. And just briefly, I could say, oh, okay, he's doing okay, or oh, wow, his music is very depressing. He's doing so well, like this. So the heart goes into it. And what is the heart of someone who is producing like um, heavy metal music or like sort of gangster rap music or electronic music, or what is going on for them that they're putting into their song as an artist does, or even like um, like a painting or anything as someone's putting themselves into that. Um, Anyone who's like very passionate about their uh, art that they're doing, or a movie or an actress, you can ask like our actors here on the property. Um, when you do it, it's like you're invested in the role. I had one friend in New Zealand. He was practicing. He's like a friend of Krishna, and he was striving to become a professional actor. And all of the pieces that he would be a part of, all the roles that he would play in different TV shows and stuff, he would get so into the role that he would almost like become the person he was um, acting. So he is in one role he was um, playing like a criminal, and the role was that he was like obsessed with this one girl in the show, and he was like stalking her and all this sort of weird stuff. That was like the role that he was playing in this New Zealand crime show. So in his own room, he had pictures of this girl that was on the TV show, like all over the walls, and like was getting so into the role that he would never break character. So he would like talk like an American, and he was, um, yeah, it sort of took on the behavior and characteristics of this person. So this is just a small example, but people who are passionate about their art, they put a lot of themselves into it. So then we have to think, okay, what is the person who is behind this? What is their consciousness? And do I want to take that on? Even just listening to it for like 10, 15 minutes, or if you're watching a show and you're watching, that, then yeah, our subtle body is open to all of these energies that are coming in. Um, and it can be very bewildering. And what I've experienced for myself, who just recalled all these things, is whatever you put into your consciousness comes out at some point in time. And so I've noticed for myself that um, those days that I'm not strong enough to tackle my mind, and sometimes my mind gets the best of me, then whatever I put in, whatever I scroll for this amount of time, or I space out doing this, or something happens, and then whatever that comes into the mind at some point in time, it comes out. Usually during my japa, I'll start thinking of this, or it goes in and it circulates, and then sometimes it comes out, or sometimes it comes out in dreams, and you have nightmares like this. So although for myself, for the time being, I think, oh, this is just some relief, but actually it's just causing me much suffering later. So, yeah, the way I was thinking about this is like if you've ever made pakoras before and you have your batter and you have your vegetable and you dip your vegetable into your batter, and then before you make it to the deep fry pan, you've got this like vegetable that's soaked in batter and it's getting batter everywhere and it's dripping and your hands are coming covered in like chickpea flour and then you make it to the deep fryer, and your hands still like covered and stuff. You have to go wash your hands before you touch anything. Otherwise, you get bakor batter on everything. So this is like the consciousness of someone who's putting their creation, the materialistic mind, which is usually very disturbed, actually. And then when we associate with that, we also get covered in this bakor batter. Of course, if you're very strong in your practice and you're reading Srila Prabhupada's books daily and you're chanting a very attentive japa, then even if you associate with some of these things for a short amount of time or even a long amount of time, then you're not disturbed because you're so steady in your practice that it doesn't defeat you. Um, so yeah, um, I can testify that these things do affect the consciousness if you're not strong in your practice. And then another thing that's even more subtle than the online world of association is our own mind, which can also have create a bad association. I was hearing in one lecture this a while ago, but it was a point that really stuck out that in this one devotee was explaining how in Satya Yuga they have, of course, we always know there's demigods and demons in the world. So in Satya Yuga, the demigods and the demons, they lived on different planets. And they would always fight, but they would be on different planets. And in Treta Yuga, they would always fight, but they were on the same planet, but different parts of the planet. And in Dwapara Yuga, they would still fight, demigods and demons would still be there, but they would be in the same household. So it's like um, we have the example of uh, the Pandavas and the Kurus. They were of the same family, but they were enemies. Dhritarashtra and Arjuna, Dhritarashtra and Bhima hated each other so much. They were stepbrothers, basically, but they were enemies and demons. And then in Kali Yuga, we have the demons and the demigods, or the demigod mentality, but they're in the same person. So um, we can actually take the association of our mind, um, and this can pull us away from our own satsanga, from becoming devotees. The mind is so powerful that it can do that. As we hear in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna saying this, the mind is more powerful than the wind. Like, how am I supposed to control it? It's so strong. And of course, there's this very famous analogy that actually I think originally comes from Krishna, as everything does, but Native American analogy about this good wolf and bad wolf. How there's two wolves living in a cave, uh, and the bad wolf is growling very loudly, and the good wolf is um, also there, and they're fighting. And it's not that at some point in time the bad wolf dies. It just depends on who you feed. So if you start feeding the good wolf, then eventually the bad wolf will just become insignificant. He'll still be there, but it won't be strong, it won't be prominent. As if you feed the bad wolf becomes very strong, very big, and that's all you can see. So we have these two wolves in our mind, these two mentalities, good and bad. And the association that we take actually can make a difference. And I've also experienced this, like, um, and sometimes the mind is so loud, it's so strong that you can't actually even hear anything else. And that it can become very debilitating and you can become completely useless, actually. It happened to me just like 2 weeks ago. I was so mental about something that I just couldn't do anything properly. It's just so disturbing. The mind is just so like intense, especially for younger generations. It's very strong because there's so much social pressure. So this is actually Maya, this part of the mind. I remember I was talking to one Prabhupada disciple in New Zealand, very nice devotee, and I was expressing to her this aspect. I was like, yeah, she's asking, what do you struggle with? And I was saying, oh yeah, I struggle with my mind sometimes. It can be very debilitating, always beating myself up. She said, this is actually Maya because your mind's telling you all of these things that you're not. It's saying, you do this wrong, you're like this, you're useless, you're a waste of space. All of these things the mind brings up. You're not good enough, whatever. But actually, this isn't true because we're spirit soul, we're a servant of Krishna, not even the body that we're identifying with. So all these things the mind is telling us that we're not, it's actually not true. We're a servant of Krishna inherently. Our service is innate with our body that we serve. And the highest person we can serve is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's just, yeah, we have this choice. And hearing all these different associations, it can seem a bit overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, okay. The moment I go on my phone, I have a choice. Am I going to take good association or bad association? The moment I with my eyes in the morning, okay, good association, bad association. Who am I going to listen to? Is my mind going to defeat me and tell me, no, 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 just snooze your alarm for another 30 minutes. It will work out. Don't worry, you'll fit your rounds in somehow today. Am I going to take good association or the negative association of the people I work with? What's going to happen today? Am I going to choose to take the association of Srila Prabhupada's books, or am I going to choose to take the association of Instagram and YouTube? So we as living entities have this distinct choice that we can make. We have the choice whether we, as a little spark of the flame of the Supreme Personality, can enter back into that flame, or if we decide that we want to go instead to the wet grass, then that's our choice. We have that ability. We can't really choose anything else. We don't even choose how the body works. We can't choose if we want to age or want to not age. Those things we have no decisions over. But we have this choice that we can choose Krishna or not. So if we choose Krishna, then it's actually a very nice choice. Because the process of Krishna consciousness is actually very easy. And there's this nice verse I wanted to read from my shloka book that I haven't opened in a while. So this is one of these famous verses from chapter 2 of the first canto. Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravanam Kirtanam Harditosto Hiyapadrani Noti Suritam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So this is nice. It's very soothing, actually, because when we choose Krishna, Krishna helps. As this very nice story in Bhagavad Gita that you read about with the sparrow who lost her eggs to the ocean. And she was trying to get them back, and she's trying on her own will. And it says in the purport, and then, Garuda came and helped her, that Krishna helps those who help themselves. So if we make the choice, okay, I want to help myself, I want to choose Krishna. Today I'm going to choose good association. I'm going to choose the association of Srila Prabhupada's books, or we could actually directly associate with Srila Prabhupada. And even Srila Prabhupada himself said, if you love me, then read my books. Then we take that personal association. We're actually choosing Krishna, which means we're choosing good association. And if we choose, we have to go into the outside world. We want to listen to some music. We can listen to kirtan. And of course, even kirtan we have to know the devotees who produce the music. Either we know them personally or we know of them through authorized sources. This is actually very important. I heard as well as Devamita Swami say, actually it was to me in a class when I asked a question about this, that it's actually better if you're going to listen to kirtan and it's not by a devotee, then it's actually worse off than if you would have just not listened to kirtan at all. He said it's like, what is it, milk touched by the lips or the teeth of a serpent. It's very detrimental to our Krishna consciousness um, if we hear music that's produced by non-devotees, like kirtan that's produced by non-devotees specifically. It's almost better to listen to like music that's produced by a karmi than to listen to kirtan that's produced by a devotee. And he said this is because these people are actually Mayavadis, and to be a Mayavadi is even worse than being to not having any knowledge of Krishna at all. It's very hard, and I have also personal experience of this, to try and preach to someone who's got very mixed views about everything, than it is to try and preach to someone who has no idea about Krishna. Um, so yeah, to listen to kirtan by devotees. Krishna Das is not a devotee; he's a Mayavadi, so we've got to be careful against that. That's a common new devotee mistake. So I guess I couldn't say he's not a devotee. He's not a Krishna Bhakti devotee. I don't know who he worships, but it's not Krishna in his form as Govinda, the Supreme Personality. So yeah, we want to take good association, and then we want to associate with devotees, the highest devotees, the Srila Prabhupada. We want to associate with him through his books. We want to take the association of Srila Prabhupada's very wonderful and glorious disciples who have so much knowledge and realization they can share from their years of practicing Krishna consciousness. We want to associate with our senior devotees. We want to associate with our fellow devotees, with our peers, and even with our juniors. We want to associate because we can always learn so much from everybody. And there's this really nice verse about association, 3:25-25 from Srimad Bhagavatam. Satprasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hirtkarna rasaya nakata tadosha vasada bhavarga varmani shraddhavatir bhakti anukarmashati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually advances on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed from his attraction, becomes fixed, and then the real devotion and devotional service begin. So yeah, there's actually so much benefit if we take good association, and Krishna helps so much in us actually becoming spiritually realized, and the process becomes very joyful and easy. As we hear in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, this prashansa Krishna consciousness is very joyful and easy to perform. So yeah, if we take to this practice, then actually our lives become very easy. And I can speak from personal experience and also just witnessing it as a second hand that when we choose to associate with the asat, with the non-Krishna, with those who are not practicing Krishna consciousness, we take that association on, and actually everything becomes very heavy. And Krishna's not, I mean, he's present everywhere, he's present in every atom, but it's harder to see him in these forms. Um, and yeah, everything just becomes very complicated, very hard, very heavy. Um, the mind, that negative side of the mind becomes very strong. It's very hard to like even use the intelligence to make the decision to choose Krishna. Because it's like we're feeding those weeds in our garden. when they're growing very tall, and then sometimes they cover the Bhakti-lata beach and we can't even see, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? And we can lose the taste for chanting Hare Krishna. And yeah, it's happened to me many times in my Krishna consciousness where I've lost my taste. And then you just do it because you have to, and it becomes like, oh, okay, here we go, I gotta sit down and chant. But Krishna's so merciful that as soon as you make that determined effort, I'm gonna chant Hare Krishna attentively, I'm gonna start choosing Krishna, then he helps, and it becomes, and suddenly there's more time in your day for reading, and the services become easier, dealing with management becomes easier, and all the things you struggle with seem to like shrink down. So yeah, there's another verse quoted that when if we if we serve Lord Chaitanya, then difficult things become easy. But if we turn against Lord Chaitanya, then the most easy things become very difficult. So we want to take advantage of this opportunity we have, and we definitely don't want to see Yamaraj at the end of our life, because I've heard it's very, very painful just from reading the descriptions of the fifth canto many times. Then we don't want to do that. We want to choose Krishna, and we want to attract as many people as we can to Krishna. I know people who fit into this category of this translation, of people who are sinful, their tongues never chant the holy name, their hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna. They never have bowed their head down before Lord Krishna in the temple. These are the types of people who are going to Yamaraj, and we don't want to be amongst those people. And we don't want actually anyone to be amongst them. We want to try and give as much time, share Krishna consciousness with as many people as possible, so no one has to experience that. Yeah, a Vaishnava never wants anyone to suffer. So yeah, aspiring to be like that, we can try and share Krishna consciousness with as many people as possible. And actually, this will also help us. We'll also get benefit from that, because not that that's the goal, but by doing that, then we become, Krishna can recognize us. Oh, look at this servant, they're serving so nicely. Krishna will cast his very pleasing sidelong glance upon us. Yeah, so in the conclusion of this class is that we want to choose, I mean, it's up to every individual what you want to do, but we should choose Krishna because it's the best for us, because we're in our super soul and our heart, and us as the jiva inside the heart, we're actually wanting to go back to the spiritual world, but we've just covered over so much from our, um, at least from my many desires that have kept me here in this material world for so many lifetimes, that it's hard to remember that all of the time. We have to constantly choose Krishna, and remember that this life is meant for going back home, back to Godhead. And we have that choice to choose Krishna or to choose the asat, the non-Krishna activities, to choose the activities that are Maya, that are not Krishna. So that's our individual choice we have to make, and we get to make it every day. But if we take shelter of Krishna, then we can guarantee that we'll have a very easy life. We'll have a life that's saturated with joy, bliss, and love. Lots of purification that'll shine up our hearts so that we can serve better. And we'll get actually uh, lots of very good qualities. I remember just a short point when I was living in the ashram, and I was telling I think I was doing full-time book distribution at that time and cooking as my two main services. And I was telling my mom, we were talking, and I was saying, yeah, I'm going on the street and I distribute books to people, and I stand on the street for 8 hours in the middle of Wellington winter, and it's freezing cold outside. I get rejected for hours on end because she was asking how I was doing, so I was telling her how I was doing. So yeah, but I'm actually very happy. She said, wow, that's such good life skills you're learning. You're learning how to deal with all kinds of different people that you usually would never come in contact with. And they might treat you really roughly, but you're learning how to still respond in a very positive way that leaves them with a good impression. and you're learning patience and tolerance. She was lifting off all these skills. She's like, these are all really good skills that you can use in your life if you're engaging it. Like if when you start working, um, then these skills are actually very good skills that any business person would be like, oh, this person has such nice qualities. Like I'll hire them. So yeah, even if we're not sure if you want to really do this process because we're not really sure we want to give up our life, our material life yet, you don't you're not giving up your material life, you're just bringing Krishna into it, A, and B, you're actually having the opportunity to also develop all these really amazing qualities that you don't get in the material world, because in the material world you don't have an opportunity to really work on yourself properly. um, you're becoming conscious of your health. There's actually so many amazing benefits in Krishna consciousness on the material platform, let alone the spiritual platform, where you're actually becoming realizing who you really are, um, and what your eternal dharma is, what your purpose in life is, which is something that a lot of people don't have. So yeah, it's really a powerful opportunity that we have. So I'll stop there. It's 7:53. We've got about 7 minutes before the altar is supposed to open. Do we have any comments or questions or realizations or corrections from our online audience?
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna Thakur.
Thank you for your class. That was very nice. Lots of wonderful realizations there. I'm reminded of um, a thing that the Srila Prabhupada used to tell us, the art of working in the material world, uh, having to interact with so many non-devotees. You would say that the art is to uh, go fishing without getting wet. So the idea is our service often requires that we have to interact with the non-devotees, but we want to do it in such a way that we are not adversely affected. And it's easily done by giving them our association by one means or another, preaching to them about Krishna consciousness, giving them a book, uh, some or engaging them practically in some kind of service. There are different things that we can do, which we gradually learn and become expert at. But that's the art. As you mentioned here at Gita, we're blessed that um, we don't have to contend with any kind of bad association. Um, Even if we're completely on the material platform of Gita, the material nature is mostly sattvic. Um, Everything is uplifting. It's a wonderful environment, wonderful devotees, wonderful cows, um, and the conditions are either transcendental or sattvic. So it's really nice. That's all I wanted to mention. Thank you again, Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the very nice comments. I remember my spiritual master saying in one class, when you're going into the working world and you're trying to wonder how to associate with your colleagues, then you just find like one subject that you think about. And he was giving an example of one of his Indian disciples, and he's like, he just talked about cricket. And that was just within him. It's like the guy who talks about cricket. He knows everything about cricket. And that was just his one subject that he learned, or he just like was into. And he could just talk about that. Okay, that was like the one thing. But yeah, it's a very art. It's a very good art to learn. You just have some comments. That's your friend. Did you want to say something?
There's no
Yeah, I think
question in the chat.
I think that's another problem.
thank you for the very nice class. So recently somebody told me we were driving and I was like, wow, having neighbors, like that'd be so intense, you know, they're so close together and after living in Gita Nagari, it's like hard to conceive of having neighbors, especially non-devotee neighbors. Um, and then this devotee told me, he said something like, if you like, if that's your understanding, you haven't been reading Prabhupada's books properly because that's not personalism. Like these are people. So, you know, from reading Prabhupada's books, you should understand that like they're people too. I don't exactly know what he was trying to say, but um, I mean, I just thought of all these verses. Prabhupada says like avoid association of non-devotees. Um, but you know, sometimes it's said. I've heard these comments that you know we should be able to relate to people. Like this philosophy should make us more personal, and it seems like what they're implying is that by that, you know, increase in our personalism, we should be able to associate with people, or I don't know exactly what they're saying, but maybe you have a better understanding of what they're saying in
Yes,
that regard.
good job. I think they also thought of this thing, but yeah, as our servant, as we are servants of Lord Chaitanya, Tita Pavana, the most merciful to the fallen conditioned souls, then it is also our duty as his servants to try and share Krishna with everybody, even those people who we live next to. So in that way, we just be subtle. We have to live next to them. We don't want to freak them out. And they're probably not gonna like us. We're gonna do a morning program at 7 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning. So we just give them their starting. That's what we used to do. We used to live in the city. We annoyed all of our neighbors. So many recorders. So many times they would come, especially we lived in a complex building. Gosh, was on the bottom floor and the 7th, 30th floor with parties, and these people would have parties till 4 in the morning, and then we'd start our morning program at 7. It would be very, but we would give them their sauna, so they were tired. They moved down there, but they become favorable. So yeah, we don't necessarily have to go and have dinner at their house, but we can give them some Christian mercy and hope they become favorable towards us. And just like I said, anything else? Anyways, yeah, Lord Chaitanya like instantly delivered Jedi Mother, so they're very merciful and loving. Okay, tired of the meeting coming.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I'll tell you personally, if I have neighbors that are close enough that I can see them, they're too close. But I'm talking about not non-devotees. But while Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he talked about this art of working in the material nature, to fish without getting wet. At the same time, he said, that an expert businessman works within the material nature, but he's not affected by the material energy. He said, however, since our main and actual business is to cultivate spiritual life, if we find that doing business jeopardizes this main goal, that is, if we find too much difficulty in maintaining our Krishna consciousness because of association with the material energy, then we must retreat or change our activity. And he said this requires some discretion and some self-vigilance, and advised taking guidance from God brothers. But practically sometimes um, you really do want to avoid bad association, and sometimes having mundane neighbors is truly a problem. I have abundant experience in my early household life. I often had to rent in different situations, and it was absolutely hellish, um, really, really bad, and resulted sometimes in terrible conflicts. Um, I had so much bad experience. I decided that henceforward I would rather live in a tent on the side of the road than ever have to rent or have farmy neighbors ever again. I'll live in the woods, I'll live on the street if I have to, but I'm never going to subject myself to that kind of nonsense again. It can be quite bad. So, Peter Prophet advises discretion. Sometimes you just have to be practical. But for preaching purposes, we don't avoid. For preaching purposes, we dive deeply into the material world and we try to benefit everyone as far as possible. Um, unless it's Srila Prabhupada says it's adversely affecting our Krishna consciousness, that's the foremost consideration. So you have to gauge, what what your particular situation is, how you're being affected, and it's not helpful to continue to subject yourself to adverse conditions that are um, spoiling your Krishna consciousness. That's not helpful. Sometimes, as Srila Prabhupada says, you should retreat if that's what's required. So that's all I got. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shubha. Thank you. That was really nice answer. It's just reminiscing over all of the flats I lived in next to the crazy teenagers or young adults who partied so much. And yeah, every weekend was like Thursday through Sunday, just nonstop. So yes, I can resonate. And actually never wanting to live in that situation again. It's very hellish. Okay, the altar is opening soon, I think. So we should stop there unless there's any further comments. Anybody? Okay. Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaur Gavanati.